The morning fog lay thick over the narrow roads of Black Hollow, a small coastal town forgotten by time. The salty wind from the sea curled through the mossy alleyways, carrying whispers that no one could explain. Locals believed the town was cursed. Outsiders thought it was superstition. But no one could deny that things went missing here: objects, people, memories. Sophia Mendez didn't believe in curses. She was a crime journalist from Chicago, sent to investigate the sudden disappearance of Dr. Elliot Crane, a retired psychologist who had moved to Black Hollow just 6 months ago. She had read about Dr. Crane's reputation, renowned for solving some of the most twisted criminal minds, but what intrigued her was the note he left behind. The fog listens. The fog remembers, but it never forgets. Sophia rented a small cottage near the lighthouse where Dr. Crane had lived. Locals weren't welcoming. They stared, whispered, and often avoided her altogether. The town seemed locked in time: no Wi-Fi, poor mobile signals, and old rotary phones that barely worked. At the edge of town stood the lighthouse, an ancient, rust-covered structure perched on jagged cliffs. It hadn't been operational for years, yet every night at 3:33 a.m., a single beam of light would cut through the fog for exactly 33 seconds. Coincidence, she had muttered the first night. But by the third, she wasn't so sure. Sophia spent her days interviewing residents, most of whom refused to talk. One woman, Martha Briggs, a 70-year-old widow who ran the local bakery, was the only one willing to speak. Elliot came here to retire. Said he wanted peace, Martha said, kneading dough with weathered hands. But peace is the last thing this place offers. What do you mean? There are voices in the fog, Miss Mendez. We don't go out at night. Haven't for years. Voices? Like people? Like echoes of things that never happened, or maybe things that did. People who ain't here no more. Children. Screams. Laughter. It ain't right. Sophia tried to brush it off. She was a journalist. Logic mattered. Evidence mattered. But even she couldn't deny the chill that crawled down her spine when she walked through the mist after dusk. It wasn't just cold, it felt like something was watching. On her fourth day, she broke into Dr. Crane's old cottage. The inside was oddly clean. Books lined the shelves: psychology, ancient cultures, paranormal phenomena. On the desk was a journal. The final entry read, "The fog is not a weather phenomenon. It's a veil. A boundary between memories and reality. I've seen her. She walks at 3:33. Always at 3:33. Sophia looked up, startled. The lighthouse beam sliced through the mist again. She glanced at her watch. 3:33 a.m. She ran outside, heart pounding. Through the swirling fog, near the base of the lighthouse, she saw a figure, a woman in white, barefoot, with long black hair that danced with the wind. She stood still, staring at the sea. Sophia shouted, "Hello? Are you all right?" The woman turned and vanished. Not walked away. Not ran. Vanished. The next morning, she visited the town library to dig into old records. What she found made her blood run cold. Black Hollow had a history of disappearances going back 200 years. Every 33 years, for a span of 33 nights, someone vanished. Always during heavy fog. Always near the lighthouse. Locals called it the 33 curse. But here was the twist. Each person who vanished had claimed to hear voices in the fog. Some even spoke of a woman in white. And the 33-year cycle? It had begun again. 10 days ago. Dr. Crane was the third disappearance. Back in her cottage, Sophia reviewed her notes. She scribbled in her journal. Dr. Crane may have discovered a pattern. The fog. The woman. The 3:33 signal. Is this psychological mass hysteria? Or something deeper? Suddenly, the air grew cold. The lights flickered. Her phone buzzed despite no signal. A message appeared on the cracked screen. "You shouldn't be here." The power cut out, and from the thickening fog outside, she heard a faint sound: footsteps. Slow, wet, dragging. Someone or something was coming. Sophia froze as the footsteps neared. The fog outside her window had thickened into a pale wall of nothingness, swallowing up the world. She moved to the front door slowly, holding her breath, heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. Then a knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps on the wood. Her trembling fingers reached for the doorknob. She hesitated. The knocking stopped. Silence. Then from behind her, inside the cottage, a whisper. "Don't open it."
She spun around.
No one was there. That night, she didn't sleep. At sunrise, she marched straight to the mayor's office. Gregory Lorne, a tired-looking man in his 60s, refused to speak at first. But when she mentioned the 33-year cycle, the disappearances, the lighthouse light, and the woman in white, his expression changed. "You've seen her?" "Yes," Sophia said. "Who is she?" The mayor exhaled heavily. Her name was Ilara Wickham, a ship captain's daughter. In 1792, her father's ship vanished during a midnight storm. She waited at the lighthouse every night, calling into the fog. The villagers say she finally walked into the sea, and the fog took her. That's just a legend.
He shook his head.
Maybe it started that way. But since then, every 33 years, she comes back. People disappear. Always 33 of them by the end of the cycle. We try not to speak of it. Speaking her name invites her closer. Sophia asked, "And Dr. Crane?" He was digging too deep. We told him to stop. He didn't listen. Sophia returned to Crane's journal and noticed something she hadn't before. Scrawled in the margins between pages was a series of numbers. 33, 66, 99, 132, 165. They were dates, each marked exactly 33 days apart. And the last date? Tonight. Sophia realized tonight would be the 33rd night of the cycle, which meant, unless the curse was broken, someone else would vanish. That afternoon, she received a package. No return address. Inside was a cassette tape and a note. "The truth is in the signal. Play it at 3:33 a.m. She found an old cassette player at the library and returned to the lighthouse that night, determined to finish what Crane had started. She brought the journal, the cassette, a flashlight, and a recorder. The air near the lighthouse was heavier than anywhere else in town. The closer she got, the more the mist seemed to pulse, like breath. She reached the rusted door and pushed it open. Inside, the lighthouse groaned with age. Spiral stairs climbed into the shadows above. She ascended slowly, the flashlight flickering. At the top, the ancient lamp stood like an eye staring into the dark. The beam had long stopped turning, yet every night it glowed for 33 seconds.
Why?
She looked at her watch. 3:31 a.m. Heart racing, she placed the cassette in the player, hit record on her phone, and waited. 3:32. 3:33. The beam flashed to life. And at the same time, the tape began to play. Static. Then a deep hum. Then voices.
Dozens of them.
Whispering. Screaming. Laughing.
Names. Please.
Warnings. Then a woman's voice. Clear, cold, and sad. "You see me now. So you must choose." Suddenly, the fog outside swirled violently. From it emerged Ilara. She stood outside the glass pane of the lighthouse, dozens of feet above the sea, staring directly at Sophia. Her eyes were hollow voids. Sophia stepped back in terror. Ilara's voice echoed again, not from the tape, but inside Sophia's head. "One must replace the last. That is the law. If no one chooses, all are taken." Sophia understood. The fog didn't just take people. It required a sacrifice. One soul to seal the veil for another 33 years. But Dr. Crane had refused. So the veil had opened wider. More than one had vanished this cycle. Unless someone volunteered, the veil would stay open, and more would be taken, again and again. Then her recorder picked up something else. A voice. "Sophia, it was Crane. If you're hearing this, I've gone beyond. But you don't have to. There's a way to bind the fog again. The lighthouse. The signal.
It's a frequency.
Light is the key." Sophia scanned Crane's notes. There it was. He had calculated the precise frequency of the fog's resonance. The light beam from the lighthouse, if modified, could emit a pulse that stitches the boundary back together. She had one chance. One beam. 33 seconds. But as she turned toward the old equipment, she saw Alara inside the lighthouse now. She didn't walk. She phased through the walls. Alara raised her hand. The walls shuddered. Sophia shouted, "I'm not afraid of you." Alara whispered, "You should be." The light flickered violently. Sophia rushed to the control panel, flipping levers, adjusting dials, syncing the resonance as Crane's notes had described. 3 hours, 33 minutes, and 22 seconds. 10 seconds left. Alara stepped closer. Her form began to shift, one moment a woman, the next a dozen faces of the lost. Men, women, children, screaming, silent, crying. Sophia hit the final switch. The beam ignited. A pulse of golden-white light surged out of the lighthouse like a scream. The fog recoiled violently. Alara screamed, not in pain, but in sorrow. She reached for Sophia one last time. "Remember me," she whispered. Then she was gone. The fog thinned. The silence fell. 1 week later, Black Hollow was bright again. The fog hadn't returned. Locals began to smile again, cautiously. The disappearances had stopped. Sophia packed her things. Her article was done. She had enough material for a book. But there was one last thing she needed to do. She walked to the cliffside where the lighthouse stood. In her hand, she held Alara's locket, retrieved from the machinery that night. She opened it. Inside was a tiny painting of a man and a girl. Her father. Her. Sophia whispered, "You can rest now," and tossed the locket into the sea. As she turned to leave, her phone buzzed. No signal bars, yet a message appeared on the cracked screen. "Thank you."